Hey y'all, hi. It's time for another rip-roaringly successful episode of pretending to shop at Sephora and then instead going shopping inside of my own house. I know that it was wildly successful because I've already been through it. As you can see, I've already done the thing and now I'm coming back to film the introduction. So in a moment, you're going to be thrust back in time to a Hannah who does not yet know that this is what she's going to end up looking like. Every time I go to Sephora, the website, this happens when I go to the shop in person too. Although every time I've been to Sephora in person since my no-buy year, I have felt a little bit overwhelmed. And it's been harder in person to really commit to buying things since my no-buy year. But every time I go to Sephora, the website, I want to buy stuff. I feel these feelings, passions for makeup especially makeup that's newly released, visions, fantasies of what my life will be like if I buy them. And I end up putting them in my cart. Because of how I shop now and the restraint that I've developed, I don't usually end up checking out with that cart. And one of the strategies that I've developed that I've started doing publicly on my channel is to create a fantasy cart and then go through and pick one thing from my makeup collection that roughly correlates to each of the things that I'm wanting, and then to put those things all on my face and see how I feel at the end. So I'm going to be taking you through that process fully today, from a bare face to this, and I do hope that you enjoy it. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Hannah. I love makeup, but I don't love overspending on makeup as I used to do. So I do some reviews of new makeup, love doing that. I also love doing videos like this where I'm using my old makeup instead of buying new makeup. And if you like it too, I hope you'll subscribe. Now, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. Hello. Here we are. Let's start with base. I didn't fantasy shop for any primers, but I am going to prime my skin with the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. Perhaps one of the reasons that I didn't fantasy shop for any primers is that I am currently engaged in a torrid love affair with this product. Even though it's not new to me, it's definitely not new to the market, and it's also not new to me. I just started using it a lot right before the move, and I used it during the move, and I've been using it ever since. I love everything about it, and I don't need to buy anything else. I don't even need to want to buy anything else. However, against all logic, a couple of base products really got me when I was browsing. And this happens every time, even though I don't wear very much base makeup. I'm very picky about my base makeup. And so I don't even end up, and I never have ended up buying very much base makeup. Historically, I just have what works, like the one concealer that works really well, the one spot concealer, and I just use that one thing until it's used up. That's what I did before my no-buy year. Even when I was buying way more makeup than I needed, I usually wasn't buying multiples of products that served this purpose, evening out the skin. I was buying multiples of everything else. And yet, there is something about the listings for base products that just stirs me in my loins. You know, it's like I look at this Dior Backstage Concealer, I look at the photograph and the product listing, and I see that brush tip dipped in product, and I just want it. It's like the promise of perfect skin in a bottle. Even though I know logically that no product makes my skin unblemished, seamless, poreless, because my skin is always just going to be itself, no matter what I use to slightly enhance its appearance. Even though I know that with my conscious mind, there is something in me that responds really powerfully to the pictures of concealer tubes and foundation bottles with excitement about the fact that my skin could look as seamless as just like the smear of product in the picture. I think that that's what it is. Whatever it is, this time, the ones that got me were the IT Cosmetics. It's a new IT Cosmetics product. I think that the reason that I'm feeling like I want to buy this product is that back in the day when I first started getting into makeup, the IT Cosmetics CC cream was the base product that everyone had and everyone was talking about. And it was what I thought I wanted at the time because it was like light to medium coverage, very natural finish, semi-glowy, not really a foundation. That really appealed to me, but there wasn't anything close to a light enough shade for me. And I can't tell you the number of times I went into Ulta or Sephora and wistfully swatched the lightest shade of the IT Cosmetics CC cream in the hopes that magically maybe it would turn out that I'd been wrong all of those times that I assessed that I shouldn't buy it because it was way too dark for me. And now I don't know if they're re-releasing it or they're releasing a new version of it or something, but it has a much wider shade range. And the lightest shade looks light enough for me. So it's like past Hannah. The past Hannah that's squirreled away inside of me is like, you should get it. This is the moment you've been waiting for your whole life, even though it's been years since I wanted the IT Cosmetics CC cream. So I put that in my fantasy cart, and then the Dior Backstage Concealer, which is just getting me with its, I don't know, it's at that crossroads between luxury and like accessibility and approachability because of the way it's being packaged and marketed. But it wouldn't make sense for me to buy these products. Probably neither one of them would work out for me, right? The CC cream would probably be that annoying lotiony medium coverage that I don't like. Maybe the Dior Backstage Concealer would be a beautiful consistency, but I strike out like 99 times out of 100 when it comes to shade matching. So just buying these two products sight unseen off of the Sephora's website would be a really bad move for me. And to kind of remind myself of that and remind myself of the fact that I don't need to go down that road, I lovingly handled every single one of my Complexion products this morning and picked some that I feel like give me that feeling in the gut that these listings give me, but in real life and in a way that's applicable because I have them right here. They match my skin and I can put them on my face. For an all over the face product, I'm going to use this Ket cream. This to me is a good stand-in for what I want or what I think, what that person inside of me, that knee-jerk instinctive reaction ghost of my old self is thinking the IT Cosmetics CC Nude Glow Lightweight Foundation would provide for me because it's very lightweight and it's very, very skin-like and it has a sort of translucent quality. You can sort of blend it and buff it away to the point where you can see your skin through it, or you can build it up. So I'm going to apply it actually with a sponge, which I've never done. I'm kind of curious. I'm not using green color corrector right now with this first application because I want to see what I can get this. I want to see how close this can get me just on its own to what I sort of imagine I'd be getting from that IT Cosmetics product. This is such an interesting product. A little does not go a long way. And I think it's by design because it makes it very manipulable. You know, you can really, really choose your level of coverage. It's so interesting because it has an olive undertone. I mean, this is marketed as being shade 0, or not 0, but O, like capital O1, so the lightest olive shade. I feel like it actually did more to make my skin the color that it would be without redness than any other complexion product that I have other than green color correctors. It kind of did what the combination of foundation and green color corrector usually does for me. I'm going to use just a little bit of the Rose Ink concealer in lieu of the Dior Backstage Concealer because I love this so much. It's like my hero product of the whole past year. And I simply cannot imagine liking the Dior one better than this. There's just no chance. So I like using this in this moment because it reminds me that I already have the best one. I'm not going to tell you which brushes I'm using because I've been a broken record about my brushes lately. I've talked about them in like every single one of the past 5 videos, but I will link them in the description box. So if you see one and you're like, what is that? Just open the description box and you will see it listed and linked. Okay, that has done enough, I think, to mimic what I would be doing if I had purchased these 2 new products from Sephora and put them onto my face today. That's what I would have used them for. I'm going to bronze my neck just a tiny bit, but I'm not going to powder my face. My skin's feeling really dry right now, and that Ket product, it's interesting. It's got sort of a thin, like waxy, creamy quality, and it just doesn't feel like it's super emollient on my face and like it's begging to be powdered. It feels like it's gonna be okay. Okay, let's talk about eyes. As soon as I clicked on what's new on the Sephora website, this NARS palette stood out to me, the Summer Unrated eyeshadow palette, which must be a limited edition NARS product. It is so pretty. This is exactly the kind of thing that used to get me because I used to be so into NARS. It was like it checked all of the boxes. And this is the first time in a long time that I have had the feelings, old NARS feelings about something from NARS. And I think that it is because it's got that clean aesthetic. The cover looks beautiful. The packaging looks really satisfying. And I know from experience that I would love holding it in my hands. And it has that NARS like dreamy watercolory neutrality, the sparkly pinks and oranges that shift. It makes you feel like you can really access that kind of editorial wash of shimmer that blends in with the skin and also stands out from the skin. And it has those like camel-y neutrals that are often in these palettes in matte formulas, which are really useful. But it stands apart from the millions of palettes that NARS has released that have those qualities in a couple of ways. It has those qualities, which I think is a good foundation because I like that. That's one of the things I like about NARS. But I feel like they've released all of these palettes that have only that. Like over and over again, only that. This has that, but it also has 3 things that I really, really, really love in an eyeshadow palette. A dirty, almost green bronze shimmer, that like olivey bronze that makes me go bananas. I love that color. And one of the first eyeshadow, the little duos that I ever had from NARS had a color kind of like that in it. I wonder if it's like the same color. If it is, they've renamed it. They've called it Komodo Island. Oh my gosh, I love the way that that looks. This palette also has a smudgy, like blackened charcoal with micro shimmer in it. I love a shadow that I can use in the outer corner to deepen up a look and make it smudgy and make it sultry, but that isn't entirely matte. And I love a really dark shade that isn't entirely black and isn't entirely brown either, right? Or isn't entirely gray. And this, it's the shade that they're calling Fetish, is that perfect thing. Like I would have included a shadow, both of these eyeshadows, both Komodo Island and Fetish, I would have picked them to go in a palette that I was designing. Those are like right at the top of my list of things that I like and that I want to see in eyeshadow palettes. And as if that wasn't enough, there's also a rich, deep, rusty, like a dark, rusty version of a terracotta red matte. So instead of just giving us like the camel-colored mattes, they're also giving us this rich, deep red, which is something that I love in a palette. Again, like an alternative to a dark brown or a black for smoking out the outer corner and the lash line. So I saw this and I got thrust into a tizzy. And the thing that happens to me often when I'm planning to film this video pretending to shop at Sephora, that thing happened to me, which is that I looked at it and I was like, the video's canceled. I'm just going to buy this eyeshadow palette. Forget pretending to shop at Sephora. I'm shopping at Sephora. I'm going to buy this eyeshadow palette. I need to have it. That happened to me this morning. For a brief moment, the video was off. I had called the whole thing off. And then I was like, Hannah, get yourself together. And I went and I opened the little container that I'm currently using to store my eyeshadow collection. And I was like, let's see what we have that checks some of these same boxes. Let's see what we have that might hold a candle to NARS Summer Unrated. This is the ZC Fireworks palette, and I keep it. Well, it is very beautiful, but I remember it particularly because of this extremely neutral bronzy brown, which almost sidles up next to green. I feel like this is nothing if not a very close match for what Komodo Island looks like it will be. I mean, honestly, this is giving us all the same things. This palette also has a kind of rusty terracotta matte. It has a lot of the same other colors, like some other shades of soft camel-y brown in matte formulas, this really bright gold, which is kind of the crown jewel of this palette. And this is definitely flakier and creamier than whatever's in the NARS palette. The only really glaring departure of this palette from the NARS palette is the pinks. It doesn't have the pinks in it, but I don't want the pinks anyway. And when I realized that, when I looked at it, I was like, well, it's not exactly the same. It doesn't have the pinks. I was like, actually, there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pinks in this NARS palette and that I would never use. So it's really only half of the palette that I'm drawn to, and it's the half that's kind of represented here. And realizing how much pink is in this palette, and that I had been sort of overlooking that because I was so attracted to those few other shadows, that was the first nail in the coffin of my desire to buy the NARS palette, but it didn't stop there. And the reason it didn't stop there is that I had before me my open box of eyeshadow palettes. The first thing I did was to look at this one, but then I kept going. I kept looking through my palettes. And I got all excited, not just about things that echo this NARS palette in some way, but about my other palettes. And this one in particular sprung right to my hand. And I remembered that when Julia was helping me pack my palettes back in LA, she found this one in the pile of palettes and was like, I love the packaging of that. And we looked at the color story together. I was like, I love that palette. And just today when I was going through, it doesn't really have anything in common with the NARS palette, but I pulled it out and I was like, I've been meaning to use this more. I really want to wear these colors. I want to get to know this palette more. This is the Kaleidos Flower Punk palette. So I was like, even though it doesn't have any of the same colors, I'm going to take it with me because maybe I'll end up just wanting to use it today. Maybe I want to use it more than I want to dupe the vibes of the NARS palette. And then I was digging through my little pots of individual shadows, and I remembered that I have ColourPop Ritz, which is a shadow I wanted for a really, really long time. Since I got it, I haven't used it all that much. It represents so much of what excites me about these NARS palettes, the washes of sparkle and editorial, sort of pale pink and orange. It doesn't really have orange in it, but it has a lot of that vibe going on. And it was just sitting there next to my palettes looking so juicy and exciting, and I was like, I need to take that with me today. And then I pulled out the Auric Smoke Reflect in Disrupt for two reasons, actually, because this cream shadow underneath is very, very the color of the matte shade in the NARS palette that excites me so much. And also, the powder shadow on top is very, very that sort of pink to orange, semi-sheer washes of sparkly color that so much of this palette is for, I feel like I can do so much of what this palette, actually, it's the half that doesn't excite me as much. But I feel like the half that doesn't excite me as much, the half of this palette that doesn't excite me as much, is fully covered basically in this one duochrome shadow from Auric. But the thing that matters the most is that after a brief jaunt through my collection of eyeshadow palettes and little single eyeshadows, I was so excited about them. And I really did have that feeling like I had gone shopping and gotten some new stuff. I got myself out of the headspace of wanting something totally new, brand new to open and start playing with, and into the headspace of remembering how many times already I have acquired something brand new and been really excited about it and been really excited about playing with it. And I realized that those feelings aren't actually gone. They were just dormant. So I am going to proceed to create an eye look using these eyeshadows, and I don't really know what I'm going to do. I'm going to zoom you in a little bit, and I'm just going to get into the zone, apply the eyeshadows, and kind of let myself go with the whims of my excitement about these colors. It may or may not end up looking like it was a look that I created with NARS Summer Unrated. The important thing is that it's a look that I created with the things that got me really excited when I started shopping my stash this morning. And then after I finish creating the eye look, I'll check in with you about everything that I did. As you can see, it took a turn. I could not be more delighted. I'm so happy with how this came out. I'm so happy we decided to do this today. I cannot stop looking at the eye look in the mirror. NARS Endless Summer could never. It was also kind of quick for an eye look, wasn't too difficult, not too many steps, very high impact, but also still that sort of watercolory, slightly grungy, didn't try too hard effect. So here's what I did. I first primed my eyes with the e.l.f. Putty Eye Primer, which I found when I was going through my eye makeup this morning, and I hadn't used it in a while, and so I just grabbed it, and I thought that I would use it today. I really like the color that it puts down, and I like the quite sticky, beefy, and very effective formula. Then I dug into the thing that I had felt the most excited about of all the things that I had held up and showed to you, which is the cream shadow in the Disrupt Smoke Reflect from Auric. There's something about the color, that deep, almost slightly blackened red that doesn't lean orange at all. I couldn't wait to get it on my eyes, but because I was starting with a dark shade and starting with a cream shadow, I put it into my outer corner. So I did this this kind of interesting thing. I started the eye look by building the darkest point into the outer corner. And I also smudged it on my lower lash line and buffed that outer corner depth, that smokiness, up above the crease of my eye to kind of create a larger eye shape than the actual shape of my hooded eyes. That was a very satisfactory beginning to the look, a very satisfactory kickoff. And I felt like I kind of could have gone anywhere from there. I feel like I would love to do 10 eye looks, all of which start that way. What I chose to do was to bring in some of that like washy, iridescent, pinky quality. I mixed the powder shadow from the top of the Disrupt Duo from Auric with ColourPop Ritz, the Super Shock shadow. I mixed them on a synthetic brush so it didn't pick up too much product. It just picked up like a little tiny bit, some smatterings of sparkle from each product. And I buffed that out along the edge of the shape that I had created with the cream shadow. So I was softening that edge, bringing some shine and iridescence to my brow bone and to the area surrounding like the outside edge of my eyes. I then went into Nouveau in the Kaleidos palette, which is like a soft, dusty, rusty terracotta. It's kind of like the slightly softer powder version of the color that I had laid down with the cream shadow. And I used it to buff out my lower lash line much more dramatically to make it smokier. And I also used it to kind of reinforce the depth of the color in the outer corner of my eyes. Then it was time for something exciting. And this was where the look departed from the Summer Unrated NARS eyeshadow palette inspo. I could have gone with that really, really creamy, flaky gold in the ZC palette, and that would have been a gorgeous look. I could have gone with the bronze in the ZC palette to try to kind of bring it back to my original inspiration. That would have also been really beautiful and very me. But when I looked at everything that I had here before me, kind of envisioned how the eye look would look if it were finished with each of the possible shadows that I could use to finish it. The one that kind of made me sit bolt upright was this bright, summery kind of pool teal, shimmery pool colored teal in the Kaleidos palette. And as soon as I got it in my head to use that color along with the base that I had created, I knew that there was going to be no other option for me, and we were going to be taking a sharp left turn away from Summer Unrated. This Kaleidos shade is beautiful. It's got pigment, but it can be sheared out so that it blends easily with whatever you're putting it on top of. I was worried that it was just going to completely obscure what was underneath it and become this incredibly bold, kind of like crayon-y bright color. And instead it sort of melted into the existing eye look. Right next to it in the palette, there's a matte version of the same color, Mint Fever. And I suspect that the matte version, it has more of that like super dense, obscuring, opaque pigment. If I had wanted it to pop even more than this, I would have gone in with a matte and kind of layered and blended them together. But I really like what I ended up with. I like sort of the soft watercolor touch. I put on a little bit of the Chantecaille mascara to finish off the look, and I am now really feeling myself. And the whole idea of the video, pretending to shop at Sephora, the whole desire for the NARS palette and for all of this other makeup, all of it has been completely obliterated. I just now got totally lost in creating this eye look, and I feel now like this video to me is more about this look and like demonstrating this look and these colors and the creativity of it. It's actually about applying makeup, not about buying makeup. I mean, that's what the video was supposed to be about, but I feel like this eye look really caused a shift in me, and now it's actually about that in spirit and not just in letter. So this is a success in every way. I'm like, and scene. Then don't forget to take good care of yourself, blah, blah, blah. I feel like the video's over. While I was applying the look, it reminded me of the most amazing experience that I had recently. I had a really bad day. I was in the bathtub. It was late though. I felt like I shouldn't have been taking a bath. I knew I really needed one because I was so worn out and my bones were aching, but I was feeling like, oh my gosh, it's so late and I don't really have anything to watch. And I was sort of like listlessly in the bath. I went to YouTube and I was scrolling my subscription feed. I'm subscribed to this wonderful channel called Haute Mess Tom. I know that some of you follow Haute Mess Tom, and I know that a lot of you don't yet because their channel is just starting to grow. It's so good though. I mean, Tom is so wonderful to watch, and I think that a lot of you who like me will really like them too. So I'm going to link Tom's channel down below. You should definitely click through. And the video that I'm going to link is the one that I came across. So Hot Mess Tom just posted this video. I think they posted the day before. I was in the bath listlessly scrolling and I just hadn't seen it. I was scrolling and my own face popped up. Hot Mess Tom filmed a video called Becoming Hannah Louise Poston, in which they go through one of my makeup tutorials. And is it even a tutorial? Oh yeah, no, it's not a tutorial. I mean, I don't really do tutorials in that way. It was just me trying new makeup. It was a trying new makeup video. And basically copied my technique blow by blow. And it was extraordinary for a lot of reasons. One, I love watching Tom. Two, it really brought home to me that people are out there watching what I do and potentially trying to recreate looks or recreating elements of my technique. I really don't think about that. I mean, I love what I do, but seeing Tom actually attempt to replicate and hearing them talk about the difference between what I do and what they do usually in makeup, there was something about that really lit it up for me. It wasn't just Tom, it was like all of you kind of came alive for me through that video. It was wild. I was in the bath, I was watching it, laughing and smiling all the way through because Tom is so delightful. Then I sort of crossed over into this new way of seeing what I'm doing. And so I just wanted to publicly thank Tom for that. And also encourage all of you to go and watch that video in particular. If you watch my channel, then that video will be very specifically delightful. But I also want to know, it made me feel more passionate about actually demonstrating the application of makeup, especially now that we have this lens. I feel like I want to know what you want to see, kind of. That's one of the things that it left me feeling. I want to know what you want to see close up. I want to know what you want to see me try to do, just in terms of like real demonstration and technique. I'm not a makeup artist. I'm just playing over here. That's all I ever have been doing. But Tom's video made me realize that play can actually mean something more than just entertainment on the other end. And I kind of feel like that today a little bit. I feel like we could have more of this, but we could frame it in other ways. So let me know. Let me know in the comments. I have a little fallout. My skin is so dry. I really haven't been taking good care of it. I've just been like slapping on a moisturizer and going to sleep. It's been one of those couple of weeks, been one of those times, one of those spaces of time. I'll do better. I'll do better in the coming weeks. All right, back to the video. I feel like we really just visited another country, but we're coming back to the video. We're going to talk about this Ilia multi-stick cream blush highlighter and lip tint palette. Again, as soon as I saw this, I was like, the video's off. I'm buying this. I am not going to just fantasy shop for it. I'm going to really shop for it. I have to have this because Ilia has impressed me a lot lately. They sent me a little bit of PR a while back and I have been so into the lip wrap. It's the new like lip treatment lip balm thing. I have been so into that. It's so good. The mascara has been amazing. And this like multi-use pigment that they sent, it's like lips, cheeks, and eyes. That has been amazing. And I've actually been using that on my cheeks a lot. I just am like, Ilia, I'm just curious. I'm following their future career with great interest and kind of considering doing like a brand overview, self-sponsored review of Ilia. So when I saw this, 6 products pressed into pans, I just got all lit up about it. And it's for 2 reasons. One, I like the colors and I love this kind of thing. Actually 3. I like the colors and I like this kind of thing. I like Ilia and I have a current piqued interest in Ilia. And then the third reason, which I realized as I got deeper into it, the third reason that I lit up when I saw this is that it reminds me of the e.l.f. Active Lip and Cheek Palette. My favorite ever cream products. This just looks like a slightly smaller version, or the Ilia thing looks like a slightly bigger version of this. Already you can probably see where I'm going. I clicked through and I was looking at the comments because what are they? Reviews. The reviews of this product on Sephora because I really was thinking, oh my gosh, I really want to buy this. I want to make this part of my Ilia review. My brain just cascaded into all these places right away. But then I saw that it has not great reviews. A lot of people are like, it's not that pigmented. People were like, you have to break the surface and make it creamy. And other people were like, I did that and it still isn't that pigmented. pigmented and it's like too dewy and blah, blah, blah. Right away, my excitement over it was dampened. And then I realized, reading the description and reading the reviews, that this is like a pressed into pans version of the Ilia Multi-Stick, which is the one product that Ilia sent me that I didn't get along with because it's quite balmy and it's lightly pigmented. This would have been a terrible idea for me to get this because I think that it isn't what I would want, which is like pans of really creamy, pigmented, manipulable product. I think it is more of like a semi-sheer, layers of color, very balmy, multi-use kind of thing. What I want is the e.l.f. Active Lip and Cheek, which is very lipsticky and thick. Lucky for me, I already have it. And I actually like the colors in this better even than the ones in the Ilia palette. Like there are 4 colors that I like in the Ilia palette and 2 that I don't. And the 4 that I like are the 4 that look just like this. Okay, I'm gonna apply this. I'm gonna start with the highlighter actually. That glossy cheek. Oh no. We're in for it. I forgot how pigmented it is, this palette. And I think I'm going to need to scale it back a bit with more of the Ket. I feel like the good move that I made was to use actually it's the color that I use the least in this palette, which is the darkest one, because that sort of berry tone really ties in with the eyes, you know? And then the mistake I made was to use way too much of it. It's been a while since I used the e.l.f. Active Lip and Cheek palette, and I think it's been discontinued. I'm so sorry. That's actually one of the reasons I haven't talked about it in a while, because it's just, I feel less prone to sing its praises, to continue to talk about it on YouTube, because I can't do anything but sing its praises, and I don't think you can get it anymore. I'm sorry about that if it's been very exciting to you to see me use it and now you want it and you can't get it. But I'm not sorry for myself that I realized that I love this thing that I already have more than I would ever like the Ilia Multi-Stick Cream Blush Highlighter and Lip Tint palette. Let's put this mole back on. Okay, the importance of whatever I put on my lips, I feel like has receded and receded with everything else that I've done, like with every step that I've gotten through, because I feel like with this look, I want to keep it kind of natural on the lips. I feel like. So should I proceed with what I was going to do? The lip product that made me want to buy it on Sephora is the Hourglass Phantom Volumizing Glossy Balm. And it was actually quite the interesting process that I went through with this. I clicked on it partly because the component looks so elegant. There's something about the idea of a glossy balm or like a balm stick, a gloss stick in this slender component that's small at the top rather than like a big messy one that really made me want to buy it. And so I clicked through, I put the color Mist, which is sort of the most neutral, lightest one, into my cart, but I was sort of having a hard time choosing between it and Tangerine, like the orangey one. I feel like the one that I would want to wear would depend on what else I had going on my face. With this going on my face, I would probably want Mist, the one that's like the pale pink. Then when I went to shop my stash, I realized that I don't really have a functional dupe for this, and it's because I've gotten rid of everything that could be called a functional dupe for this because I don't like this kind of product. In the back of my mind, I was like, oh, I could shop my stash for the Glossier Vanillic. No, not the Vanillic Lip. That was the amazing product that they discontinued. The Glossier Ultra Lip. That's pretty similar to this. Then I remembered that I decluttered the Glossier Ultra Lips that I had in LA when I was packing my stuff, because even though they do look really beautiful and they feel really nourishing, and as gloss balms go, they're fantastic. And I gave them a good review, and I think that they are great at what they're trying to do. And what they're trying to do is similar to what this is claiming that it's going to do. Even though all of that is true, I don't like really, really slippy, shiny, balmy, glossy, pigmented products. Even though I like the look sometimes and I like the feel, I never put them on my lips because I just feel like it's going to be a mess. So functionally, I don't like this kind of thing. Even though emotionally, I'm really drawn to it because I'm like, it would be so great. It would feel so good. And I would slather it on my lips all the time. And then they would look juicy and they would have color and all of this stuff. It just doesn't work that way for me. I don't end up wearing them. So by trying to shop my stash for this, I realized that it would be a terrible buy for me, a terrible decision to buy this. I looked through what I owned to see like, well, if I want a look like that, sort of a juicy, glossy look, what would I use? What do I like to wear that serves that purpose? And the answer is like comfortable, nourishing products that are actually glosses. So they don't have quite that thickness of a balm in a stick. And the two that I picked out to sort of mimic the two shades of the Hourglass Phantom Volumizing Glossy Balm that attracted me the most are the Fruit Smoothie Lip Gloss from Erin's Faces in the shade Early Glow, because this is a really great kind of neutral, has a little color, but it is that like neutral, easy to wear shade for me. And the Ellis Foss Lip Gloss in L305, which is like this orangey, really lovely, neutral, interesting shade of orange and very sheer, glossy, and wet. I'm actually going to try it. I can't help but feel like the Erin's Faces is probably the better choice. I'm going to try this because sometimes it works, especially if the color's watercolory everywhere. I realize I didn't articulate myself. What I was trying to say is sometimes it works to mix burgundy and blue and orange. And I do think that color story wise, it's working. This to me is very evocative of like Biba girl makeup. You know, there's something, it's very like Lisa Eldridge's book about makeup. I feel like actually these are the colors maybe on the cover of that book. Yeah, I'm going to stick with this, at least for this to be like the finished look for this video. It's interesting, you know? I mean, I think that this like glossy nude would be more wearable for me for sure. And I might actually switch it out for that when I film the next video, because I'm going to film another video after this. For the purposes of this video, creating a look that was basically inspired by my wish list, my Sephora wish list or my fantasy shopping cart, but that goes above and beyond anything that I could or would do if I purchased those products. I think that this is a really good result. So I'm going to go I'm in my like bathrobe. I am going to go change into a top, kind of fix my hair, maybe put some earrings on or something, and then I'll come back and say goodbye. Okay, this is the finished look. I am really feeling like my Sephora cart could never. And I also feel so satisfied. Like I have the feeling right now that is the feeling that one hopes to get when one places an order for new makeup. As a proof of concept project, this never fails, and today was no exception. I hope that you enjoyed it a fraction as much as I did. Thank you so much for watching this video. Quick reminder here at the end to subscribe if you aren't subscribed yet to my channel. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world. That's the end.